Hello and a very warm welcome to one and all. You're watching News 9. I'm Neha Bhan. We continue to bring you the latest from war zone Israel. Now today marks day 25th since Israel suffered potentially the worst attack in its brief history as a nation. Hamas carried out deadly attacks on southern Israel on the 7th of October. Here's the latest update from the war front right on your screens. IDF intensifies military operation in northern Gaza. The situation in Gaza has taken a dramatic turn. There, Hamas, in fact, has released video of hostages demanding a prisoner swap. That's the latest right on your screens. Now, this, in fact, the Israeli government has called it a psychological propaganda. Meanwhile, at least 8,306 people, Palestinians, have been killed in Gaza so far. Israel will not agree to ceasefire in Gaza. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has stated. He has rejected calls for a ceasefire with Hamas. Now here, West Asian leaders must consider two-state solution post the war. That's what Joe Biden, the United States President, has said. He is calling on Israeli and Arab leaders to think hard about their eventual post-war reality. Israeli forces escalated their offensive in Gaza, attacking the main northern city from both sides. The Israel Defense Forces released videos depicting ground operations and airstrikes on Hamas targets. The military reported the killing of 4 prominent Hamas operatives. Meanwhile, Hamas terrorists claim to have repelled an attempted Israeli tank push into Gaza city and engaged in border clashes. The situation remains highly tense and fluid in the region. The Israeli forces are entering the strip from 2 directions in a presumed effort to divide it into 2. The reports indicate that Israeli tanks, the Merkavas, have approached the outskirts of the Gaza city itself, the largest and most densely populated part of the strip. Now, Israeli tanks alongside bulldozers have reportedly blockaded the Salah al-Din road, one of the main routes that connects the southern part of Gaza to the north, where combat operations continue. Uninformed reports also indicate that Israeli armor is firing on any vehicles approaching the blockades. The Israeli Defense Forces so far have declined to provide further details beyond confirming that infantry, armored and engineering forces are now operating with Gaza. Meanwhile, rescue operations for hostages is also continuing, with Israeli forces apparently rescuing an Israeli soldier. As Israel amps up its ground operations in Gaza, Hamas has also released a clip showing 2 of the hostages reading out a prepared script that was highly critical of Benjamin Netanyahu. For all of those who have just joined in, the Israeli forces have now escalated their offensive in Gaza, attacking the main northern city from both sides. We have the IDF spokesperson who has spoken with the media. Let's listen in.
Wherever you're watching, it is 6:40 a.m. October 31st. We are on the 25th day of the fighting of the war. I am Lieutenant Colonel in the Reserves, Jonathan, and I want to give you a daily update. A few topics. We're going to have a small piece of good news about the release of an Israeli hostage who is now safe with her family. We'll be speaking about the current situation on the ground in northern Gaza. We'll speak about tunnels and specifically compounds under hospitals that Hamas has prepared in Gaza. And then we will go north and speak about what Hezbollah is doing, how we are defending ourselves, and what this means for the region. Stay with us. Let's begin with some positive news. It doesn't happen a lot that we have positive news, but I am happy to say that Private Ori Megidish is now back home with her family. She was rescued in a special operation done by Israeli security forces, IDF and ISA, Shabak. who went into Gaza, got her out based on intelligence and on a lot of resources that were allocated towards this. She is now home with her family. She is well, both mentally and physically. She has provided intelligence that we'll be able to use in the future for future operations. And the only thing that I can say that won't jeopardize operational security is that we are committed and determined to get all of the 238 Israeli hostages that are still inside Gaza. Let's speak about the Southern Command and the situation on the ground. The commanders that you can see, this is the General in command of the Southern Command, General Finkelman, and he is leading the troops from the front. That is how Israeli commanders lead. Some of these pictures were taken, some of the footage was taken from inside Gaza. Our troops are now on the ground. We are expanding our activity in Gaza. We've conducted a few raids over the last days. We've expanded those now, and Israeli troops are in various parts of northern Gaza operating. We have entered, and as you can see here on this clip, which is from a few days, heavily armored vehicles, tanks, APCs, bulldozers entering into the Gaza Strip, moving slowly, meticulously, with a lot of firepower to support, with lots of intelligence, and looking for Hamas and engaging with Hamas combatants, attacking them on the ground and also from the air, using many of the resources that we have available for us. Some other visuals that you can see: tanks and APCs equipped with special engineering construction to face the threats that we know that they're going to face inside the densely populated urban terrain, and the columns that are advancing, and the various developments that we see inside. The situation on the ground is that we continue to strike Hamas. We are striking in all parts of the Gaza Strip. We have said before that we will continue to strike. We will focus our activities on the northern part of Gaza. That is the center of gravity of Hamas, and that is where we are attacking now. But we continue to strike in other parts of Gaza. We are hunting their commanders. We are attacking their infrastructure. And whenever there is an important target that is related to Hamas, we strike it. Now, we do so with professionalism. Hamas is the enemy, not the civilian population, and we focus our military efforts on Hamas to make sure that civilians, or to minimize the risk for civilians. 2 weeks ago, we called for the evacuation of civilians towards the south. We have added to that a humanitarian zone in the northern part of the Gaza Strip, just northwest of Khan Yunis, here called Muassi, and we hope that civilians will go there. Happy to see that more than 800,000 Palestinians have evacuated from the northern part, from the main combat area where there's most of fighting. Hamas has stopped many of them from doing so, but many have, and hopefully all of them will evacuate for a concern for their own safety. And humanitarian assistance continues to be delivered through the Rafah corridor into Gaza, into the southern point. There's also more access to water, there is food, and as days go by, I think we will be ramping up the facilitation of humanitarian assistance to the Gaza Strip. We do understand that the situation there is difficult, but this is not of our doing, and it isn't what we wanted. Please remember, we are 25 days into the fighting. We didn't start this, we didn't want it, but we are definitely going to end it, and it will end with a totally dismantled Hamas in a totally different security situation in the south. Let's speak about the Shifa hospital. For those of you who haven't seen this, this is an aerial view of Shifa, the most important and the largest hospital in Gaza. Hamas is using this infrastructure like many other protected facilities in Gaza, hospitals, clinics, schools, mosques, UN facilities, and we have shown footage of rocket fire between mosques and UN schools, and we have shown how Hamas uses the proximity of civilians. This perhaps is the most cynic and the worst use that they have done of these protected assets. This is an illustration, 3D, of what's above ground and below ground. Storage of weapons, command and control facilities, offices, and places for terrorists to hide. This is all underneath the hospital. This is a violation of international law. This is despicable, and it puts the people that are being treated in the hospital at risk. It should be condemned and it should be stopped before it's too late. And that's the situation in Gaza. Operations continue. We continue to strike from the air, and our troops are on the ground enhancing the activities that we are conducting. Let's quickly move to the north and speak about what Hezbollah is attempting to do and how we are defending ourselves against Hezbollah. Up in the north, Hezbollah has been attacking across the border. Up until now, they have fired rockets. They have tried to infiltrate. They have fired dozens of anti-tank missiles at our civilians and at our military position. They have fired rockets at our positions in Mount Dov, and they have fired at our communities. Many things have been done by Hezbollah. We are defending ourselves against this aggression. We have been targeting, and these are the two senior commanders, of course, Lieutenant General Halevi, our Chief of Staff, and the General in charge of the Northern Command, Major General Gordon. They are on the ground monitoring the troops and making sure that the troops have the proper guidance. And I want to show you some results of what our troops have been doing in retaliation to Hezbollah attacks. These are strikes done, and you can see maybe a bit graphic image here, but I think this is part of what we're doing. Strikes conducted by our commando units that are using precise intelligence and precise delivery of weapons against Hezbollah operatives. Up until now, Hezbollah has quite a lot of casualties. Unfortunately, we have casualties as well. But at the end of the day, what's important here is for the state of Lebanon to understand that they stand to lose almost everything and gain absolutely nothing by allowing Hezbollah to drag them into a war. And if anybody cares about the state of Lebanon, they should be out of this war, because they will gain nothing from helping a bunch of terrorists in Gaza. That is the situation. We continue to be deployed, strong and vigilant along our borders. We are definitely not going to allow Hezbollah to escalate and enhance their attacks against us. We are defending against that, and we will continue to operate in Gaza and defend ourselves on all of our other fronts. Rockets that were fired from Syria, and all kinds of reports of aerial threats that we had in the south in Eilat. I hope you stay connected and that you stay informed. Please follow our tweets, our updates, our posts on Facebook, and all of the other accounts that I know that by now you are familiar with. We work hard in order to deliver timely, verified, and honest information so that you can be aware of the situation on the ground. I hope you find this useful, and I wish you all the best. Shalom.
Now, even as Israeli forces launched an attack on Gaza's main northern city, escalating a major ground offensive in the Palestinian enclave, there are increased international calls for civilian protection. Both sides report clashes and casualties, with the Israeli military stating that they have eliminated 4 prominent Hamas operatives. The situation remains tense as these events unfold. Now, in an official statement, Israeli Army spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari has confirmed a gradual expansion of the ground operation in Gaza. Listen in.
מתקדמים באופן מדורג על פי התוכניות המבצעיות שלנו. הפעילות ההתקפית תתמשך ותתעצם לפי שלבי המלחמה ומטרותיה. עד כה הודענו למשפחותיהם של 312 חללי צה"ל ולמשפחותיהם של 239 חטופים. השבת החטופים היא משימה לאומית עליונה. הפעילות הקרקעית שלנו ברצועת עזה משרתת בין היתר את המטרה הזאת. סוגיית החטופים איננה רק סוגיה לאומית, היא סוגיה עולמית. ילדים, נשים וקשישים, ישראלים ובני לאומים אחרים מוחזקים על ידי ארגון רצחני שביצע פשע מלחמה, ביצע פשע נגד האנושות כולה בממדים בלתי נתפסים.
In other update coming in from the Israel-Hamas war zone, black smoke rose over the Gaza skyline. Take a look. Loud blasts could be heard in the enclave following an expansion of ground operations by the Israeli forces. The Israeli Defense Forces tanks were seen operating on the border between southern Israel and Gaza, and Israeli fighter jets have struck hundreds more of Hamas targets. That's what the Israeli military has stated. Following this, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called it the second phase of a 3-week-old war. According to Gazan Health Ministry, Israeli operations have led death toll in Gaza to over 8,000. 8,000 Palestinians have lost their lives, while more than 16,000 have been left injured. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemns Hamas's cruel psychological propaganda as the terrorist group releases a video showing 3 Israeli hostages in Gaza. Meanwhile, Israeli forces intensify their ground offensive in Gaza's northern city, targeting over 600 terrorist sites. Palestinian civilians face dire shortage of fuel, food and clean water amid the escalating conflict now entering its 4th week. Let's listen into what the Israeli Prime Minister had to say.
אנחנו נלחמים על הבית ואנחנו ננצח בעזרת האנשים האלה ואחרים שחדורים ברוח לחימה, ברוח הקרבה, ברוח הניצחון. תודה לכם.
Tensions rise in U.S. communities amid Israel-Hamas war. In the U.S., the conflict in Israel and Gaza has left Jewish and Palestinian American communities on edge. Experts are warning of a rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Demonstrations on both sides of the conflict have broken out across the country.
Nolan Drazin has never been this worried walking around campus at Georgetown University. Over the past couple of weeks, he's seen protests which launched into hateful tirades. He says he received threats of violence himself and that people tried to find his home address. We watch a video of a rally at the University of Pennsylvania where demonstrators can be heard calling for genocide against Jews.
It's extremely unsettling to see the calls for genocide, to see the calls for one state with no Jews in it, to see them walk right by and right in front of Jews on campus. It takes a toll, but you have to show up and you have to do what you have to do, otherwise they win.
What Nolan has done is co-found a group of Jewish law students who support Israel. The group wants to take a stand against what they describe as growing anti-Semitic and anti-Israel rhetoric in the US.
This gentleman.
Fear is mounting among the Palestinian American community too. In Chicago, this little boy was killed in an alleged hate crime. Authorities said 6-year-old Wadia al-Fayumi was attacked for being Muslim and that tensions over the conflict in the Middle East led to the killing. Abir Ramadan Shinawi works as an educational consultant in the Palestinian American community. She would only talk to us in a park as she fears her office may become a target.
The 6-year-old boy who was murdered in the Chicago area from my hometown has caused a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear in parents who are making sure that their kids are being safe as well. My daughter, she texts me from work and she's like, "Mom, I feel anxious. I don't know why." And we talked about it and it was about everything that was going on. And she said she feels paranoid about going out.
Tensions in the US are so high that President Joe Biden has spoken out to address the issue.
We must, without equivocation, denounce anti-Semitism. We must also, without equivocation, denounce Islamophobia. And to all you hurting, those of you hurting, I want you to know I see you. You belong.
Amid growing divisions, there are instances of Jews and Arabs coming together. This rally was organized by Jewish Voice for Peace, a group that's critical of Israeli policy.
And I need to say something, I need to do something. We've been the victims of genocide before, and I can't sit by and watch my people now do that to others. So hoping to be here and hoping collectively we can send a powerful message.
As a Jew, it's important to me that my grief not be weaponized in this moment.
It's a beautiful thing that there are so many Jews, because I think it's a very appropriate representation of what it's like back home for people like us as well. It's not really about the religion at the end of the day. It's about humanity. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter where you're from.
Now, on the 7th of October, as Hamas undertook a brutal attack on Israel, the much-touted intelligence forces of the West Asian nation were caught completely off guard. The Israeli administration has admitted to an intelligence failure on their part and promised to launch a thorough investigation into determining what went wrong on that fateful day of the 7th of October. An investigation by the prominent American daily analyzed the failures of Israel that led to the Hamas attack. The investigation, based on dozens of interviews with Israeli, Arab, European and American officials, as well as on a review of several official documents of the Israeli government, narrowed down the factors which led to this kind of an attack by Hamas. There are 4 such factors. Let's tell you more about them. The first one is that the Israeli government under Benjamin Netanyahu ignored several warnings issued by the intelligence and military outfits. In July this year, which is just 3 months before the Hamas attack, 2 senior generals from the Israeli army had addressed the Knesset, delivering urgent warnings about an impending attack on Israel. This was the time when Benjamin Netanyahu was looking to push through the legislations which put curbs on the judiciary and emboldened his own government. The generals warned that the political turmoil inside Israel was in turn emboldening Israel's enemies like Iran, Syria, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The generals said these entities believed that this was Israel's moment of weakness and an opportune moment to strike. This briefing, however, was listened to only 2 members of the Knesset, while the legislation curbing the judicial powers were passed overwhelmingly, in turn deepening the political turmoil in Israel. General Halevi, one of the 2 aforementioned generals, even tried warning Netanyahu in a separate meeting, but the Prime Minister refused to meet Halevi. According to the New York Times investigation, the Israeli government also ignored warnings coming from Jordan. The Jordanian government, which is the custodian of the holy sites in Jerusalem, too issued warnings to Israel, but these warnings also were ill received by the Israeli administration. The second factor which allowed the October 7 attack was Israeli intelligence and security's over-focused approach towards threats from Hezbollah and Iran, which led to a neglect of the threat from Hamas. As per the New York Times investigation, ever since Hamas evolved into a governing power of Gaza in 2007, the Israeli authorities thought that they could contain Hamas with an extensive network of human spies, sophisticated surveillance, tools, and border fortifications. Israeli officials viewed Hamas as a regional threat and not as a global terrorist organization like the Hezbollah or the Islamic State. Taking the eye off of Hamas let the terror group regain in strength and work silently to launch such an attack on Israel. Now, the investigation also focuses on Benjamin Netanyahu's alleged strategy of building Hamas as a way to balance power against the Palestinian Authority, which controls the West Bank and has long sought a peace agreement with Israel in exchange for a Palestinian state. The NYT article claims that Netanyahu often told his aides that a feeble Palestinian Authority would lower the pressure on him to make concessions to the Palestinians. The fourth factor is that the Israeli officials firmly believed that the 40-mile-long wall was enough to completely seal off Gaza and protect them from any attacks. They believed that the combination of remote surveillance and machine gun systems along with the massive barrier wall would make it almost impossible to infiltrate Israel. But the Hamas was smart and displayed strict discipline to breach the wall. The terror group used explosive drones that damaged the cellular antenna and remote firing systems that protected the fence wall. Hamas claimed that it used 35 drones in the opening strike on the wall. Secondly, the Hamas terrorists divided themselves into several small groups. each of which swarmed the wall at close to 30 different locations, making it extremely difficult for the Israeli forces to fix the breach. A female Israeli soldier who had been kidnapped by Hamas has been rescued. The rescue happened during ground operations in Gaza. The Israeli Defense Forces said that the soldier was medically checked and is doing well and has also met with her family. A happy reunion right on your screens. This was the female Israeli soldier who was kidnapped by Hamas on the 7th of October. She has been successfully rescued by the Israeli Defense Forces during ground operations in Gaza. A total of 212 hostages are currently with Hamas, and Israel has vowed to save all of them while also teaching Hamas a befitting lesson. Now let's take a closer look at the concerns raised by a group lobbying for the families of Israeli hostages held by Hamas. They insist that the safety of their loved ones must be a top priority for the Israeli government, especially as military operations in the Gaza Strip intensify. Take a look.
A group lobbying for the families of Israeli hostages held by Hamas say the safety of their loved ones needs to be a top priority for the government. Their concerns come as the Israeli military expands ground operations in the Gaza Strip.
Keep pushing.
Adva Adar believes her 85-year-old grandmother is in Gaza, based on photos and footage purporting to show her capture. Reuters could not independently verify the location or date of filming of videos showing hostages being kidnapped.
My grandmother doesn't have the time to wait. She needs to be back home now. She's ill and she needs medication and she needs medical care.
On Saturday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel's goals in the war were to destroy Hamas's governing and military capabilities, as well as return the more than 200 hostages.
As her boyfriend, I truly afraid that these two goals is like in conflict with each other.
Noam Alon's girlfriend, Inbar Hyman, is one of the hostages.
I think that first, the hostages should be free.
Israel has tightened its blockade and bombarded Gaza since Hamas gunmen stormed across the border into Israel on October 7th, killing at least 1,400 people, as well as taking the hostages.
We are not political people or, military people. We are two simple people that try to save our sister.
Leah and Leon Yanai believe their sister Moran was taken hostage at the Nova Music Festival.
We found a clip from TikTok with begging for her life.
And they say time is of the essence.
If Moran is listening to us, Moran, we are united together. We love you so much.
Continue to be positive as you are. And think about the big hugs we're all going to give you when you come back. And I want you to know that we're doing everything we can to bring you back home as soon as possible.
Switching our focus to some of the stories that are making headlines back home. Now, Delhi Chief Minister and Aam Aadmi Party's national convener Arvind Kejriwal has been summoned by the Enforcement Directorate. This summon is related to the Delhi excise policy case, which has its origins in an FIR by the Central Bureau of Investigation due to alleged irregularities in the now scrapped excise policy. Notably, the Supreme Court recently denied bail to Aam Aadmi Party leader Manish Sisodia. In fact, it was just yesterday that he was denied a bail in connection with the same case. Kejriwal had previously been questioned by the CBI in April. It's worth mentioning that Kejriwal is not named as an accused in the CBI's FIR from last year. He was called for questioning by the Central Bureau of Investigation in connection with the same case in April this year. However, the AAP Supremo has not been named as an accused in the FIR filed by CBI in August last year. The Delhi Chief Minister was questioned by the CBI for over 9 hours in connection with the corruption and criminal conspiracy probe in the case. The ED and CBI claim that the Aam Aadmi Party-led Delhi government's liquor policy encouraged unfairly favoured ineligible parties for financial gain. Kejriwal and his party, on the other hand, reject these allegations and argue that the new policy would have boosted revenue sharing. Meanwhile, Aam Aadmi Party has made a big claim. The AAP minister, Atishi, in a press conference earlier today stated that the party is getting information that when Arvind Kejriwal appears before ED on the 2nd of November, ED will arrest and put him in jail. Take a listen to her and some of the other political reactions coming in.
नवंबर को दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल और आम आदमी पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय संयोजक अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को ईडी ने समन किया है। हर तरफ से खबर आ रही है कि 2 नवंबर को जब अरविंद केजरीवाल को बुलाएंगे तो ईडी उनको भी अरेस्ट करके जेल में डाल देगी। आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी और प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी आम आदमी पार्टी को खत्म करना चाहते हैं। यही कारण है कि एक के बाद एक झूठे केस बनाकर झूठे आरोप लगाकर आम आदमी पार्टी के नेताओं को गिरफ्तार किया जा रहा है और जेल में डाला जा रहा है।
जैसा कि खबर आ रही है कि अब केंद्र सरकार की ईडी ने दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री श्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को समन भेजा है 2 तारीख का। इससे बात साफ हो जाती है कि केंद्र सरकार का एक ही मकसद है, किसी तरीके से आम आदमी पार्टी को खत्म कर देना, और इसके लिए वो कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ रहे। किसी तरीके से कैसे भी फर्जी केस बना के मुख्यमंत्री अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को जेल में बंद किया जाए और आम आदमी पार्टी को खत्म किया जाए।
It's clear as daylight. The Sharab Ghotala is a Ghotala of Kejriwal, by Kejriwal, for Kejriwal. And Mr. Kejriwal is the mastermind, is the kingpin of the Sharab Ghotala. There is no doubt left in it anymore. Today the law enforcement agencies and all the investigation they have done so far has been vindicated by the Supreme Court. You said there was no Sharab Ghotala. The Supreme Court has differed from your view. You said there was no money trail. The Supreme Court says that there is a 338 crore money trail. You said Manish Sisodia is Kattar Imandar. The Supreme Court, lower court, high court, all of them have denied bail to Manish Sisodia. These courts, after the evidence placed in front of them, have denied bail to Sanjay Singh, to Vijay Nair, to Manish Sisodia. And all of them have said that the highest levels of Delhi government were collaborating and conniving in taking part in this entire Sharab Ghotala. Are all the courts wrong? Are all the courts vindictive? Are all the courts not able to see that you are Kattar Imandar? And today you must answer questions. Did the new Sharab policy get made without your knowledge, without your active connivance? Is it not true that there is a statement on record under 164 that it was with your active presence, connivance and information, knowledge and blessings that the commission was tweaked from 2.5% to 12% even though Dhawan committee did not recommend it?
It was an offing after the Supreme Court rejecting the bail of Mr. Sisodia. I have tweeted in the morning saying the same, that Mr. Kejriwal should resign now before he gets a knock from the ED. Because he is a kingpin of the complete scam, liquor scam. Court has accepted the money trail of 338 crore rupees and had said, yes, there was a money trail, there was a scam. Now, even there are officers who are gone on as approval and has said on record that every policy, every change in the policy, every comma and full stop was dictated by Mr. Kejriwal. It happened in front of Mr. Kejriwal. So Mr. Kejriwal drafted the policy benefiting the liquor mafia, and now he is being called on that. He will have to answer a lot of questions. It's better he resigns now, or we will have to wait till the time he is arrested.
शराब नीति का घोटाला आया था, हम पहले दिन से कह रहे थे कि इस पूरे घोटाले के सूत्रधार अरविंद केजरीवाल हैं, और आज जब माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने मनीष सिसोदिया की बेल खारिज की और साथ ही साथ ये भी एस्टेब्लिश किया कि 338 करोड़ की मनी ट्रेलिंग, तो अब अरविंद केजरीवाल को बताना पड़ेगा कि वो 338 करोड़ रुपए कहाँ खर्च किए हैं। और दिल्ली वाले अरविंद केजरीवाल के भ्रष्ट शासन से मुक्ति पाना चाहते हैं। अभी हमने दशहरा मनाया है, बुराई पे अच्छाई की जीत का त्यौहार मनाया है, तो आज हमें भी ये लगता है कि अब वो दिन भी आने वाला है कि सच्चाई की जीत होगी। अरविंद केजरीवाल और इनकी पूरी टीम जो छाती पीट पीट कर अपने आप को कट्टर ईमानदार कहती है, इनके सबके चेहरे बेनकाब हो गए हैं। ये काले चेहरे अब जनता के सामने आएंगे।
देखिए, इन्वेस्टिगेशन उस मामले में पहले से चली हुई है और स्वाभाविक है कुछ साक्ष्य इस प्रकार के होंगे जिसके कारण पहले सीबीआई ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन के लिए बुलाया और उसके पश्चात अब ईडी ने समन दिया है इन्वेस्टिगेशन ज्वाइन करने के लिए, क्योंकि ये सारा मामला बहुत लोगों से जुड़ा हुआ है और स्वाभाविक रूप से इसमें गंभीर आरोप जो पुष्टि की तरफ जो है वो बढ़ रहे हैं आने वाले समय में, जिस तरह से हम देख रहे हैं कि जिसमें कुछ लोगों की, इनके नेताओं की पूछताछ के बाद उनकी गिरफ्तारी भी हुई है और इसी मामले को लेकर के केजरीवाल जी को बुलाया है, तो ये साधारण बात नहीं है। तो कुछ साक्ष्य होंगे और सच है तो उनको अपना पक्ष रखना चाहिए, अगर गलत किया है तो निश्चित रूप से कानून अपना काम करेगा।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट के फैसले के बाद मित्र सुधांशु त्रिवेदी जी ने टिप्पणी की थी, लेकिन आम आदमी पार्टी की कहानी बहुत लंबी चलती है, वो जल्दी खत्म ही नहीं होती है, परत दर परत उस पर निकलती है। आम आदमी का आरोप है कि सरकार उनको खत्म कर रही है। आम आदमी पार्टी खुद को, अपने आप को खत्म कर रही है। हमें ये बताइए, हम ही ने कहा था ना कि एक्साइज पॉलिसी ऐसी बनाओ जिसमें कमीशन खाओ। सरकार ने कहा था कि पूरे दिल्ली में शराब का ठेका एक मोनोपोली कर दो। क्या भाजपा ने कहा था कि अपना 6% वोट राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर मान्यता प्राप्त करने के लिए शराब के कमीशन से प्राप्त करो गोवा के इलेक्शन में? ये हमने कहा था क्या? तो गलती करेंगे आप, भ्रष्टाचार करेंगे आप, अपराध करेंगे आप और कार्रवाई होगी तो परेशानी है। ऐसा कैसे चलेगा भाई? ये आज इसलिए बताना जरूरी है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल और उनकी पार्टी, मनीष सिसोदिया, संजय सिंह, सभी बार बार कहते थे कि पूरा ये मामला बिल्कुल फर्जी है। कहा था ना? फरवरी से मनीष सिसोदिया जी जेल में है। उनका बेल रिजेक्ट किया लोअर कोर्ट ने, बेल रिजेक्ट किया हाई कोर्ट ने, अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने रिजेक्ट किया। और बाकी सदन जैन वगैरह की बात तो हमारे दिल्ली के मित्र लोग करते रहते हैं आपसे। कितने उनके नेता जेल में हैं ये आप सभी जानते हैं। लेकिन आज तक अरविंद केजरीवाल ने इस पूरे महाघोटाले पर एक शब्द स्पष्टीकरण का नहीं कहा। दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नोट। बार बार बिल्कुल झूठा है, बेबुनियाद है, फंसाने की चाल है।
Now, the Kerala police has registered an FIR against Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar for allegedly making statements promoting enmity between different groups. Kerala PCC has filed a complaint to the Kerala DGP against Chandrasekhar, who planted a baseless international conspiracy theory and hate propaganda about the Kalamashri blast, according to them. It added that a case has been registered against him and the BJP's Antony, who has been tasked by the BJP to discredit the Kerala state. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi is currently holding a presser. Let's cut across live.
नंबर 3 अमित शाह। अब हिंदुस्तान की पॉलिटिक्स हमें समझ आ गई है और अदानी जी बच के नहीं निकल सकते, क्योंकि अदानी जी को हमने ऐसे घेरा है, तोते को हमने ऐसा पकड़ा है कि वो बच के नहीं निकल सकता है। और इसीलिए सारा का सारा हो रहा है डिस्ट्रैक्शन पॉलिटिक्स, कि देश की निगाह, ऑपोजिशन की निगाह पिंजरे में बैठा हुआ तोते की ओर ना चले जाए। तो हमें काफी क्लैरिटी है। आप देखिए, पूरे ऑपोजिशन के खिलाफ यहां पे एप्पल का नोटिस आता है। मैंने इसको थोड़ा आपके लिए बड़ा करके दिखाया है। देखिए, अच्छी तरह देखिए, ये तोते का काम है, राइट? इसमें लिखा है, एप्पल बिलीव्स you are being targeted by state sponsored attackers who are trying to remotely compromise the iPhone associated with your Apple ID. अब ये मेरे ऑफिस में सब लोगों को मिला है, वेणुगोपाल जी को मिला है, कांग्रेस पार्टी में लिस्ट बनी हुई है, पवन खेड़ा, सुप्रिया, सीताराम येचुरी, अखिलेश यादव, प्रियंका चतुर्वेदी, महुआ मोइत्रा, राघव चड्ढा, टीएस सिंहदेव, लिस्ट है। और ये सारे के सारे किसी ना किसी तरीके से इस मामले में इन्वॉल्व है। और देश के युवाओं को मैं समझाना चाहता हूं, बताना चाहता हूं, यहां हो क्या रहा है। आपका ध्यान कभी इधर ले जाते हैं, कभी उधर ले जाते हैं, कभी इधर ले जाते हैं। आपके दिल के अंदर गुस्सा पैदा करते हैं, और जब आपके दिल में नफरत आती है, गुस्सा आता है, जो आपका भविष्य है, जो इस देश की पूंजी है, जो इस देश का धन है, उसको उठा के ये लोग ले जाते हैं। अदानी जी हिंदुस्तान के पोर्ट्स पकड़ा दिए, हिंदुस्तान के एयरपोर्ट्स पकड़ा दिए, मुंबई चाहिए सीडी का प्रयोग एयरपोर्ट दे दिया, एग्रीकल्चर बना दिए अदानी जी के लिए, स्टोरेज उनके हाथ, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर उनके हाथ में, आप सड़कों पे चलते हो, सीमेंट उनके हाथ में। तो पूरा का पूरा देश ये 3-4 लोगों को पकड़ा रहे हैं। नुकसान किसका हो रहा है? हिंदुस्तान के युवा का हो रहा है। आपसे ये कहते हैं कि आप जाइए पढ़ाई कीजिए, आप जाइए आईएएस बनिए, आप जाइए इंजीनियर बनिए। आप में से 1% इंजीनियर बनेगा, 1% डॉक्टर बनेगा, 0.0000001% आईएएस बनेगा। तो ये आपको झूठे भविष्य का वायदा करते हैं, और जो आपका धन है आपके आंखों के सामने आपसे छीन के ले जा रहे हैं। यह हिंदुस्तान की आज सच्चाई है। कम लोग हैं जो इसके खिलाफ लड़ रहे हैं, मगर हम डरने वाले नहीं हैं, हम लड़ने वाले लोग हैं, हम पीछे नहीं हटेंगे। जितनी टैपिंग करनी है कर लो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मुझे तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। अगर आपको मेरा फोन चाहिए मैं दे देता हूं, आपको उठा के ले लो। अब आपके कोई सवाल हो तो पूछिए। इंग्लिश। अच्छा, नहीं, हिंदी में थोड़ा एक लाइन और। हिंदुस्तान की जो भविष्य है, उसके लिए सबसे जरूरी चीज न्याय है। अगर इस देश में, इस देश की जनता को, इस देश के युवाओं को न्याय ना मिले तो यह देश आगे नहीं बढ़ सकता है। और मैंने बहुत बार बोला है, और मैं बोलता रहूंगा, और हम ये काम करके दिखा देंगे कि कास्ट सेंसस के बिना इस देश के युवाओं को न्याय नहीं मिल सकता। और यह पूरा का पूरा डिस्ट्रैक्शन जो हो रहा है, जब अदानी जी पैसा चोरी करते हैं, किससे चोरी करते हैं? देश की आम युवा से चोरी करते हैं, पिछड़ों से चोरी करते हैं, दलितों से चोरी करते हैं, आदिवासियों से चोरी करते हैं। जब अदानी जी कोयले में, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में जब नाव चलती है, यहां आती है, जब वो ओवर इनवॉइसिंग करते हैं, तो अदानी जी किसकी जेब से चोरी कर रहे हैं पैसा? जो आप बिजली खरीदते हो उसमें अदानी टैक्स है, ट्रेन में आप जाते हो उसमें अदानी टैक्स है, फ्रेट घूमता है उस पर अदानी टैक्स है। टैक्स किससे, कहां से आ रहा है? पिछड़ों की जेब से, दलितों की जेब से, आदिवासियों की जेब से, गरीब लोगों की जेब से, छोटे व्यापारियों की जेब से, और पूरा का पूरा ट्रांसफर इनकी जेब में हो रहा है। In English, brother. See, there's a beautiful story, old Indian story. There was a king, very nasty king, and he was attacking everybody, stealing from everybody. Everybody was disturbed. And his opposition would keep trying to fight him. Nothing would happen to the man. They'd keep attacking, keep attacking, keep attacking. They're very confused. Why is nothing happening to this man? What is going on? And this went on for a couple of years, and then after some time, there was this wise man who used to do dhyan outside. And so they went to him and they said, what is going on? We keep attacking this man. Every day we attack this man, nothing happens to this man. And the gentleman said, look, the reason is that this man's soul is actually somewhere else. The frame, the image is of the king. But jo iski atma hai, the soul is somewhere else. So they asked him, where is the soul? And he said, the soul is there in a village in the corner. If you go, there's a little cage, and inside that cage there is a parrot. And if you go and you kill that parrot, the king will fall. Right? And that is exactly what is going on here. Mr. Narendra Modi's soul is Mr. Adani. Right? And no matter how much we attack Mr. Narendra Modi, it doesn't have an effect. Because the soul is somewhere else. And now we've understood this. We've understood that the soul is there in the parrot. And now we are attacking the soul. And that is why all this is going on. That is why Apple is sending messages. Your phone is being targeted by state-sponsored attackers. Right? I used to think that, there's a ranking. People say, press people say, number one, number two. Number one, Mr. Modi. Number two, Mr. Amit Shah. And actually, the ranking is slightly different. It's number one, Mr. Adani. Number two, Mr. Modi. Number three, Mr. Amit Shah. The country will soon realize that the Prime Minister is employed by Mr. Adani and works for Mr. Adani. Right? The examples of this are clear. Bombay Airport that is owned by somebody else. State-sponsored agencies attack the owner. He surrenders the airport to Mr. Adani. Mr. Adani is over-invoicing coal from Australia. It leaves Australia, it arrives in India, the price is doubled. No inquiry. Nothing. No ED, no CBI, nothing. Who's paying for it? When we are using electricity, poor people of this country using electricity, we're giving Adani tax. We're going in the railways, we're giving Adani tax. So it's very clear what is going on. Right? The wealth of the Indian people is being stolen from them. They are being divided. They are being made to hate each other. And while they are angry, they are disturbed, they are upset, Mr. Adani is basically taking over everything in this country. He owns most of the channels that are, whose cameras these? Most of these cameras, I don't know which ones, but half of them at least are owned by Mr. Adani. So, hello. Hello, Mr. Adani. I know you don't like this. I know you don't like this type of activity, but I must tell you that you are creating a huge amount of anger against yourself in this country. The common masses of this country are getting to understand what is going on. And it's my duty as a politician, as an opposition politician, to tell the truth about what is happening in India. So if you have any questions.
Yeah, Anand. Sir, after Pegasus, we have seen this again snooping on the phones of several of the Congress leaders and opposition leaders. So what's your next step? Whether will you go to take legal recourse or something like this?
No, the last inquiry, the last Pegasus inquiry, where, I mean, my name was also there, that sort of disappeared, right? So that tells you the situation in the country. Our job as opposition is to make people understand what is going on. And I'm very happy that more and more people are understanding what is going on. It's very clear. And this is clearly a sign of panic, right? This is clearly, I mean, this is not just one person, this is the whole opposition. So this is obviously, this is not done by somebody who's not scared, or this is not done by somebody who's honest or who believes in themselves. This is the work of criminals, of thieves. Only thieves and criminals would want to do this.
राहुल जी, अभी आपने एक बड़ा खुलासा किया, आपने कहा कि देश में अडानी सरकार चल रही है, आपकी बातचीत का लबुलवाब था। तो लोकतांत्रिक देश में आप एक वोटिंग के जरिए सरकारें बदल सकते हैं, तो मोदी सरकार तो आप बदल सकते हैं, लेकिन अडानी सरकार कैसे बदलेंगे?
ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग प्रॉब्लम है, आइडियाज है मेरे पास।
नहीं तो कुछ अगर शेयर कर पाए कि ये
नहीं, शेयर ऐसे आइडिया शेयर नहीं करते हैं। टाइम आएगा तो दिखाएंगे अडानी सरकार कैसे बदली जाती है। बट आपने बहुत, देखिए, आपने बहुत गहरी बात बोली है। अडानी जी, ये मत सोचिए कि अडानी जी सरकार बदलने से हट जाएंगे, नहीं। मगर जिस तरीके का मोनोपोलाइजेशन हिंदुस्तान में हो रहा है, और अडानी जी उसके सिंबल हैं, सबसे बड़े सिंबल हैं एंड बिल्कुल ब्लेटेंट सिंबल हैं, उससे देश को जबरदस्त नुकसान हो रहा है। उससे हमारी डेमोक्रेसी टूट रही है, हमारे लोगों का पैसा चोरी हो रहा है, हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस कोलैप्स कर रहे हैं। तो बीजेपी की सरकार और बीजेपी का जो फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम है वो डायरेक्टली लिंक्ड है इनके साथ। बट चुनाव जीतने से प्रॉब्लम रिजॉल्व नहीं होगा। प्रॉब्लम रिजॉल्व करने के लिए और दवाई देनी पड़ेगी।
मिस्टर गांधी, दिस साइड सर, दिस साइड, दिस सर, sir. Sir, you've been raising Adani issue and crony capitalism for quite some time now. Do you firmly believe that this issue is also resonating and echoing in general public? And if yes, are you going to make this important poll plank in 2024 as you made Rafael in 2029?
See, you have to understand where I'm coming from. Okay? I am defending what I consider to be the idea of India. Okay? I believe a free press. I believe independent institutions. I believe fair business practices. These are all the idea of India. And I am defending that idea. And I'm defending that idea how? With the truth. Right? I have a habit of telling the truth. I like speaking the truth. It gives me happiness and joy. Right? And that is what I'm doing. This is not just a political fight. This is not just a fight about, as I said, about going and winning an election. This is a much deeper fight. One step is winning an election, and I'm confident that you will see in the next state elections the results, right? But it is a deeper problem. We were enslaved, please remember, all the young people in this country, please remember, we were enslaved by a monopoly. We became slaves of a monopoly. It was called the East India Company. It was a foreign monopoly. It had partners in India. And we are being enslaved by a monopoly again.
That was Rahul Gandhi coming down heavily on the Modi government for the alleged snooping attack on the opposition leaders. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of the Bulletin. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day ahead. This is me, Neha, signing off.
Hello everyone, Namaskar. I'm music composer Ricky Cage.